Hi YouTube, Orlando here, and today I'd like to make a video on how to avoid getting screwed by used car dealers. Okay, a little bit of background on me. I am a used car dealer. I've been a used car dealer for 17 years. I also have a little rental car company. I actually retired or semi-retired from the used car business and the rental business last year, 2020. I'm in my 50s now, so I decided, you know what, it's time to call it quits. I still part-time it. Most of my rentals are on Turo now, and some of my rentals are on Turo now, and I hardly sell any cars. I sell a car here, a car there, but I hardly sell any cars. I've been thinking about making this video for a very long time, but I'm not really good with the camera, and I'm not really good at editing and all that stuff, so that's why it's taking me so long. And it's such a big topic that I'm going to have to split it into quite a few videos. I'm going to start with one today, and then we'll keep going. And maybe, depending on how this goes, we might make some other ones on mechanics, because that's another thing that's crazy. Ever since I was introduced to the dealer world, I've seen so much craziness that it just blows my mind. I don't know how mechanics and dealers get away with the stuff they get away with, okay? Again, there's hundreds of ways they can scam you, but we're going to talk about one today. And the long and short of it is read your paperwork. This is for finance deals. This is not for cash deals. We'll talk about cash deals later. We'll talk about good credit. We'll talk about bad credit. We'll talk about all that stuff in other videos. But right now, we're going to specifically talk about finance deals, okay? I've seen this a lot here in Colorado. It blows my mind. I have no idea how people get away with this. To me, it's like murder, but they do. And I was a Florida dealer also. In Florida, this paper, we did not have it in our paperwork. Let me see if I got my paperwork here. But I'm pretty sure it does exist in one form or another in many, many states. So the long and short, if you don't watch none of the rest of this video, at least listen to what I'm saying right now. Read your paperwork. Understand your paperwork, okay? Don't just sign. I see this all the time. I get customers all the time that don't care. They're in love with that new car that they just got. They want to show it to their wife or their husband or whatever, and they're just like, like zombies. Please don't do that, okay? If you don't understand something, ask. And make that dealer explain everything to you. And if you still don't understand nothing, get somebody who does understand something, albeit a lawyer, your friend, whatever, okay? And well, the specific case that I'm going to talk about today in the state of Colorado, and like I said, in probably many other states, in one form or the other, there's a form called, that we have here, disclosures required as part of sale. It's part of the bill of sale, okay? Here the bill of sale is like a 2-page document. In Florida, it's a 1-page document. But anyway, that's what I want to talk about today. That paper has 2 sections. One is the cash section, and one is the finance section, right? And in the cash section, it will talk about, there's 4 lines. It'll say, well, obviously you can't commit fraud. No, that's the second line, I'm sorry. The first line is gonna say, I'm not reading it right now. The first line is, make sure you understand what you're reading, make sure you understand what you're signing. If you don't understand, please seek legal assistance or clarification, which is what I just told you guys to do, right? Papers you're signing as part of this motor vehicle, power sports vehicle sale are legal documents. Read them carefully. If there's anything you do not understand, seek legal assistance. Okay? If the dealer who's selling you this car doesn't explain all this stuff to you, he should do this step by step, even if you're not paying attention. I used to do it all the time, and it drives me crazy that some people just don't care. Have him at least go through the motions, okay? And when you don't understand something, pop, try to catch it, because you're signing for this. You're getting in a debt. It could be a 72-month debt. And your credit's involved, and maybe you have a co-signer involved. So please read your paperwork. Make sure what you are signing. Okay. Second one, only terms and conditions here apply, and these documents written into these documents are part of the contract. Any oral representations conflicting with these documents are void and cannot be enforced. That one's easy. That means if I tell you, hey, don't worry about it. Yeah, that car has a flat tire, a bad tire, next week I'll give you 2 new tires. No, have him put it in writing. In the state of Colorado, it's called the UOWIO. It's a little separate paper. And again, in different states, it's going to be different. Or even if it's not different, have him put it on the bill of sale. Have him write, yeah, I'm going to get you a new set of tires, okay? And have him sign for it, if that's what you guys agreed on, okay? Because anything oral, you can't enforce it. 3, fraud or misrepresentation. Basically, you can't commit fraud, okay? He can't, you can't. You guys both initial on these papers. You guys, it's a paper like this, State of Colorado. Let me see, you see it there? You guys basically initial. He initials, you initial. He initials, you initial, and then you both sign on the bottom. Okay, this is a deal that I did recently, actually, to a friend of mine. Okay, so here we go. Let's keep going with this paper. D, as a cash sale, it just basically means that your contract requires you to pay the dealer X and X amount. Okay, the total due after your down payment is deducted. Failure to pay this balance may result in the loss of your down payment, which includes your trade-in vehicle. So you guys got to watch out. From here on out, it gets a little scary. Okay. It requires you to pay the dealer X amount of money. The total amount due after your down payment is deducted. Failure to pay this balance may result in the loss of your down payment, which includes your trade-in vehicle. Obviously, if it's a cash sale, the other part, I just cross it out. The other 4 lines, I just cross them out because there is no financing. If it's a cash sale, obviously the guy's going to pay me cash. Or he's going to pay me with a check, certified check, whatever. To me, that's cash. And the only way I'm going to get this guy's car back is if the check bounces. Okay? And now it starts getting a little hairy. On the credit portion, this was the cash portion. On the credit portion, if your contract is contingent upon the approval of financing arranged by or through the dealer, you agree that you will buy the motor vehicle identified above if financing can be arranged at an annual percentage rate of such and such or less. Let's just say 10% or less, right? The interest rate must be agreed by you and the dealer. That part is not that important depending on your credit, if you're happy with it. And we can talk about that on another video. That's another scam. They'll raise your interest rate. They'll do everything. But not all of them, okay? Some dealers are cool, okay? But that just basically says that's the interest rate. Within 10 calendar days, if I can't get you done with that interest rate, me as a dealer can't get you done with that interest rate, you do not have to accept the sale. I have to let you know. If for some reason I get you approved and the bank comes back and says, hey man, this guy's not a 10%, he's a 15% because we found this in his credit or whatever, you don't have to accept the terms. I have to let you know and you come in and cancel this contract. Okay? Third line. Horrible. Third line. Okay, guys? If financing is not arranged in accordance with your contract, the sale is not consummated, I'm sorry, you agree to pay blank. The paper says blank, all right? So the dealer puts in whatever he wants. Okay, I used to put $50 a day, 30 cents a mile. They could put $100 a day, $150 a day. I don't even think there's a cap. I'm not sure if there's a cap. I don't think so. Here's where it gets really, really unreasonable. Okay? From the date of delivery until you return the vehicle to the dealer, the amount you agree to pay per mile is negotiable. Negotiable before you sign. Okay? And last but not least, you may also be required to, basically, if there's a repossession involved, you're going to have to pay for those costs if you don't return the vehicle, et cetera, right? Okay, here's what blows my mind. Here's what I think is absolutely insane. When a customer comes into my lot or any lot, my lots were small. I didn't even have these giant lots. Comes into my lot, immediately the dealer will know. Once he runs your credit, runs your information, he's going to know if you're approved or not. With which bank's giving him a better deal. Sometimes he has to work a little bit. Sometimes he can't get you done with this bank. He'll try with another, and he goes back and forth. But at the end of the day, if you're approved, you should be approved, period. There should be no calling you back. And I see this a lot here in Colorado, and I'm sure it happens in many states. And the sad thing is I see this with the most reputable dealers in the state. Some of them. And I can't, in all honesty, here in Colorado Springs and all of Colorado, there's one giant one that does this all the time. And I get these stories from these customers that are devastated, okay, all the time. And I'll explain what happens. So anyway, there's no reason for a dealer not to call. There should be no reason for a dealer to call you back 2 weeks later and say, hey, or 3 weeks later, hey, John, please bring me the car back. I'm going to tell you what happens. You buy that car, you give that dealer $3,000 down, right? Because you got a 600 credit or a 580 or whatever, and he wants some down. Depends on the credit. You're going to have to give him more down or less down. But most of the time, you're going to have to give him a down unless you're a rock star, okay, with your credit. So let's say you give this guy $3,000 down. And he calls you back 3 weeks later and says, hey, John, listen, I'm sorry, John, but unfortunately the bank didn't approve, or something happened, or blah, blah, blah. They'll make up some BS story and they'll say, hey, you got to bring the car back. So here's where the aggravation starts, because you're thinking, well, the deal fell through. You know, it's obvious if the deal fell through, I'm getting my money back, right? My down payment back. That's the worst part. It's a double whammy, because after 3 weeks, you're driving that car, you showed it to your family, you took your kids to school, you did everything. You put a nice little thing on the steering wheel. You washed it, you shined it every day, you showed it to all your neighbors. Then they call you and tell you got to give it back. So for 2 days or 3 days, you're devastated. Finally, you come to terms with, okay, I'll just give the damn car back. You go give the car back and you expect, well, the deal fell through, you know, give me my money. He'll go like this. You had it for 3 weeks. You gave me $3,000. Minus whatever, $80 a day times 21 days. 80 times 21. You owe me $1,680. And you drove how many miles? Whatever, 1,000 miles at 60 cents a mile, so you owe me another $600. Boom, you owe me $2,280 minus 3,000. Here, Mr. John, here's your $700 back. Or sometimes nothing. It just depends. So not only did you get devastated because you had to give the car back, you lost your down payment, or most of it. And the sad thing is, this is completely legal. The only way this is acceptable in my eyes is if there's some kind of fraud involved. And I've seen this happen too. In my dealership, it's happened, where people will give you, if you're playing the game, you're going to lose your money. Okay? That's different, but that's very different. I've had customers give me fake pay stubs that they get online. And then there's no verification. There's no real job. I've had people give me job letters that don't exist. I've gone to people's work because I'm desperate to finalize this deal. And I asked for, hey, I need Joanna or whatever. Hey, please, McDonald's, give me a job letter for Joanna. They're like, who? She doesn't work here. We don't even know who she is. So in those rare situations, I understand this rule. But other than that, there should be no reason for a dealer to call you back and say you're not approved after you were approved. It's like, wait a minute, how was I approved 3 weeks ago? And makes no sense. No sense. If the dealer says you're approved and you have all the steps, all the stipulations, you got your proof of income, and you qualify with the job time and everything, there should be no way on earth for that dealer to take your money other than they're crooks. Because basically, you rented that car for 3 weeks, and he just pocketed $2,200 or whatever, $3,000, right? And you just put 1,000 miles on it. Who cares? He's still going to sell it like new or almost new. He's going to get all his money for it, and it's ruthless. But they do it. They do it all the time. Small dealers do it. Big dealers do it even more. So basically, read your paperwork. Not only read your paperwork, negotiate these terms. If there are terms, negotiate these terms. And not only, and even more than that, make sure you're approved. Just because you're in love with that car and you're pre-approved or whatever, no. There's no reason for him to call you back in a few weeks. He knows on the spot if you're approved or not. Period. Depending on your credit, if you're a good credit people, the banks will fight for you. They'll give him kickbacks, all sorts of stuff, which we'll talk about in other videos. But there's no reason for him to call you and say, hey, I'm sorry for giving my car back. And then you're devastated. And on top of that, when you get there, takes your money. And it's legal. There's nothing you can do. You can call a lawyer. You can call Better Business Bureau. You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing because you didn't look at the paperwork when you signed it, okay? That's one scam, okay? It's a horrible scam. It happens a lot. I see it not every day, but I see it a lot. It blows my mind. It's just insane. If you go to a dealership and you're approved, you make sure you're approved. I don't care how much you like the car. You make sure, if you have to call the bank, call the bank. Do it yourself. Do whatever you got to do to make sure I'm 100% approved. You're not going to call me later. Make sure. I got all my paperwork. I got my pay stubs. I got my proof of residence. I got my job. I got everything. Don't call me back. Make sure. If you have to call the bank yourself, what bank am I approved with? Oh, Westlake or with Wells Fargo. You call that bank. hey, my name's Orlando and Rodriguez. I need to make sure that I'm getting a car here. Make sure, or even better, if you have half decent credit, like 580 or higher, go get the financing yourself. And come in with a check and tell the dealer to go pound sand. They're not gonna like it because they're not gonna be able to steal your money. But with back end products and warranties and all this horse crap they're gonna try to sell you, and then call you back 2 weeks later. But anyway, that's it. I'm getting a little carried away. That's my first lesson. Okay, check your paperwork in whatever state you are. This is just an example in Colorado, and I'm sure this happens in many states, how ruthless these people are. If you're approved, you're approved. If you're approved, we know you're approved. There's no way I can call you back later and say, hey, I'm sorry you're not approved. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Take care, guys. Be careful out there. A lot of ruthless dealers. If you have a good one, there are a few. Hang on to them, okay? Because a lot of them, I don't care how nice they are, how much coffee they give you when you come in, how much they kiss your rear end, a lot of them are ruthless. Take care, guys. See you on the next one.